The man from whom the demons had gone out begged to go with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return home and tell how much God has done for you." Go home and tell people what God has done for you. Go back into your old life. The people who know you, who are familiar with you, who have seen you, who have put up with you, who have dealt with you, who have been hurt by you, disappointed by you. Go to those people. Tell them what God has done for you. No longer naked and dirty and out of control and sick and ill and possessed by evil, but go tell them what God has done for you. Don't keep your mouth shut. Go tell them. Don't talk about how great it was to pull yourself up by your bootstraps or to clean yourself off or to make a good decision to live rightly. But go tell them that it was the Lord Himself who has done this for you, who has done what you could not, and now everything is different. Go tell them. Go tell them. This service began with a reminder that now is the time for God to act. And so He shall. He has been and will continue to do so. What you see in this time, what you participate in, how you are blessed, how you see Jesus face to face in this day through these acts, and together here with me. Go home and tell people what the Lord has done for you. If you're being baptized, you are going to put on Christ like a garment. So it doesn't matter what you're wearing. And it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter how dirty or beaten up you are getting here. It doesn't matter if you have been chained up or chained down. It doesn't matter if you are young or old or rich or poor. Because from every tribe and language and tongue and nation, you go into this water and that old self dies. You go into this water, and it is the Lord Himself who raises you up with His Spirit instead. And you will be clothed with Christ. No longer with what you're wearing or who you've been, but clean, brand new. That's why in the earliest times of the church, those newly baptized were given white robes. Kind of like what I'm wearing here. Because it said no matter what you are on the inside, it has been made clean. No matter who you have been to this point, it has been made new. And you are covered now in purity, in holiness, not because, well, for goodness sakes, you finally made the right decision and came forward, but because the Lord has done this mighty act out of love and on your behalf. And you are now covered over by Him. You are made clean. You are made new. So go and tell. Go and tell what the Lord has done. We are going to participate in one form or another today with 3 of the 7 sacraments. We've talked about baptism. The Eucharist is a normal part of our Sunday service. We will have 2 couples during the announcement time renew the vows of holy matrimony. As one celebrates 25 years and another 10, taking these milestone occasions to stand before the church and in gratitude to God. And to say those same vows that they said so many years ago with a little less naivete this time. With a little more knowledge of the hard knocks of life. With a little less of, I don't know what I'm getting into, but I'll do my very best, to, well, He's gotten us safe thus far. And like that hymn, Amazing Grace, He will see us safely home. It is a blessing, I think, to have had the scriptural readings that we have had, to see the power of God manifest, both in spectacular ways. The man who was released of demon possession. Imagine this guy's life. You caught that, right? That he was naked and in chains? The misery, not only of his life, but the people who ostensibly knew and loved him. He had parents somewhere. He might have had a family. He could have had friends. This guy's on the outskirts. This guy is beyond hurting. He's destroyed on the inside. He's not even his own man. Jesus sets him free. Sets him free to the degree that people don't believe it. Sets him free to the degree that the people who saw him the day before, they are freaked out that such a change could possibly happen. He is changed to such a degree that he wants to follow Jesus for the rest of his life. And Jesus says, no, go back and tell people what's happened to you instead. Spectacular and amazing. Even Galatians, relatively spectacular. If you think about all the junk and nonsense that we can bring to the Lord with the belief that some way, somehow, He can redeem them. Not wave a magic wand as though it never happened, but make things good and right and whole again, that even the parts of pain in our lives, even the chains that we have carried, or the ways we have been broken or broken other people, can be redeemed to shine forth in His glory. That just like the demoniac, after baptism, we can go and tell people, this is what I used to be like. This is the person I used to be. He forgave all that. Can you believe it? I heard a lot of hurt. I heard a lot of people. I carried a lot of brokenness. I broke a lot of people. Let people down and disappointed them. I've been let down and disappointed in my life. As hard as I tried to scrub and clean, it never came off. Never completely. But now look at what He's done. Clothed with Christ Himself. Look at what the Lord has done for me. It's spectacular. And then our first reading, and if you felt like that first reading kind of went on and on and on, it did. But if you felt like it was like, wah, 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 it didn't. Let me recapture for just a moment the drama of the moment that we have an evil and wicked king and queen. As evil and as wicked as any Disney animated movie and then some. For these were people who took God's chosen land and deliberately and systematically tried to pull them away from the Lord, and to the worst and most vile pagan gods. And before you have some sense of, well, I mean, really, no, I mean really, like the burn your infant children kind of pagan gods. So Jezebel and Ahab are considered amongst the worst of Israel. And the whole nation was suffering, and there was one faithful prophet. One guy who was willing to stand up, not just the king and queen, but their legions of supporters and all of their priests and prophets. And the spectacular power of God had been shown through him chapter by chapter before. But he's a marked man. The king and the queen, they're still around. And they're unhappy. They're unhappy that all of this bad stuff has happened because of that stupid prophet who won't just fall in line. We need to end him. And Elijah knows he's alone, and he prays to God, God, can I just die? I mean, really, please? Please. What else is left for me? I am all alone. And I failed. I've done the best I could. Spectacular things have happened, and it still doesn't seem to have made a difference. I just wish I were dead. Of course, none of us know that, right? That no matter how hard you work, it doesn't seem to make a difference. No matter how hard you try, how good you try to be, that level you're trying to achieve or that goal, and you still fall short even though you've done your level best, even though great things have happened, and what does it all amount to? None of us know that, do we? I guess I do. So maybe it's just me and Elijah. But he understands what it feels like to say it's all worthless and forget it, and I don't care, just let me die. And you get this sort of weird interaction where angels keep getting him to eat. What's that all about? Is that filler? You're just trying to make the Bible reading longer for some reason because the AC isn't very cold today? Or is it that we all have those moments of feeling down, all those moments of discouragement, those moments where we teeter on despair? That either I can't do it or I don't care. That it makes no difference or there is no hope. And that's where Elijah, the mighty prophet of God, is. And if he can be there, anyone can be there. And what happens? The Lord ministers to him in these simple and small ways. Eat. Keep up your strength. On the day-to-day, you are going to need some nourishment. So have something to eat. There's work yet for you to accomplish. All right, I'll eat a little something, but I still think it's worthless and I want to die. Okay. Goes back to bed. Wake up, wake up. Time to eat again. Again? Yeah, I'm telling you, the Lord's not done with you. We will come forward for the sacrament of communion with the opportunity to receive body and blood, bread and wine that will nourish us from the inside out, for the Lord is not done with you yet. I don't know how to do it, and I don't think I've got it in me. And again, like Elijah, what's the point? Well, the Lord has work for you to do, so eat. Get your strength up. You're going to need it. So we will. He's led out into the desert. And there's the spectacular, and there's the amazing. And there's fire and wind and earthquakes and and God's not an alien. He has been in the spectacular in other readings, but not in this one. Still small voice. You've heard that phrase, that's where it comes from. He is not in the wind or the fire or the earthquake, but the presence of the Lord is in the still small voice that whispers to Elijah. So this sense of the Lord's power and His provision for His people, it is both spectacular and it is very quiet. It is grand and sweeping and it is very small. Sometimes it shouts like the rooftops as a man who has been freed from demons, and sometimes it whispers just to you. It's a little bit like life. None of us live on the mountaintop, and none of us live in the depths of the valley, not 24/7. We wouldn't survive. None of us just go bouncing from gigantic event to gigantic event, but we have these long stretches of just day to day. Day to day that seem okay, and day to day that just seem like they're kind of wearing on you. The Lord is in the spectacular, the bad and the good alike. Up on the mountaintop where He is clear and obvious and might be praised, and in the deepest, darkest valleys, that yea, though we walk through that particular valley of the shadow of death, He is with us and we can be without fear in His strength and in His love. But yet in that broad middle day to day where you don't feel like it's woo spectacular, oh no, terrible, He might still whisper. He might still provide bread. He might still nourish you. He might still forgive you and make you clean. For that is the nature of these sacraments. Outward and visible, inward and spiritual. The very power of God, sometimes spectacular and sometimes simple, but effective and a witness to His promises kept. Big ways, small ways. The day-to-day of life will be made new, but won't be easy. Be baptized and wear the cross of Christ on you in His garments, that stuff will be perfect. Still going to struggle. Still going to trip and fall. It's going to be hard. But now you do so wearing the garments of Jesus. Renewing vows doesn't mean marriage from here on out will be perfect. Doesn't mean that you're going to get that vitamin B12 shot and everything is going to be super from here on out, or at least until the next big anniversary. But it does mean that in the ways where your marriage feels incredibly close, the Lord will continue to be present. In the ways where it feels like your marriage risks being torn asunder, the Lord will still be there to protect and preserve you, as He has for lo these many years. And that even when the day-to-day, where it's not something big and spectacular, good or bad, but it's just the day-to-day grind of sharing your life to be one flesh with this other person who sometimes gets on your nerves. The Lord will be there. The Lord will nourish you. The Lord can forgive you. And the Lord will provide spectacular ways and small. shouting from the rooftops, and whispering just for you. These are holy mysteries. These are holy sacraments. And they bear witness to the power of God and his promise. Promise that is good for folks like me and folks like you. In our biggest moments, in our best and our worst, even in the humdrum in the day-to-day. The power of God at work. And now, it is time for God to act. What you see, go home and tell people this is what the Lord has done for you.